seen anybody like this guy before, right? So I think what happened was he was, competing with a lot of similar acts, but kind of different acts in the States. And I guess probably the fact that there were so many, there was racial issues, and there was Christian divides where the moral majority didn't like that type of music, the devil's music. And in Canada, they didn't care about that. Like, it was like he'd come up to Hamilton and people would freak out, like, oh, this guy is just, wow, he's so different, right? So he had a huge audience, especially in Hamilton. He said, screw it, man, I'm going to go up there.
Right.
Right. And, I ended up meeting Robbie Robertson, who said, I got these friends of mine. I think Ronnie already had Levon Helm, who was from Arkansas, as part of his band. And then they incorporated the Canadian boys, and there you go. The rest is history.
And the rest is history.
But he became a Canadian. I mean, he stayed up here, lived up here, bought a place up Peterborough, and was a big part of the influential scene, I think, than anything else.
But he thinks people like John Lennon and Bill.
Yeah, they all knew him. Yeah, they all knew who he was.
Yeah. We all hear the stories about, Bob Dylan and taking the band, and then the band became the band, and the weight, and the rest is history. Wow. Good stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of layers to that. You should, you had Paul Myers on your show, so he wrote the Todd Rundgren book. And
Rundgren, he did so much. You almost need to have like a week of Paul Myers episodes to cover it, because I wanted to talk Gravelberries, but now I want to talk Kids in the Hall, and he's got so many specialties. So
yeah, he's good. He's a good writer, and he's very active on social media too.
Yeah,
and he looks. I mean, him and Mike look so. The older brother doesn't look as much, but those two look like twins. They could be twins.
Hey, did you ever read his Kids in the Hall book?
I did. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Hey, you got to retweet this tweet before we forget.
Tweet. You got Joe Tilley on today.
We're coming up. Yeah, I tagged him on the tweet. Coming up. Right, and let me open it on my other screen. Coming up. All right.
This will make your Friday.
This will make your Friday.
We'll set up your whole weekend.
There's no better place to be than right here.
And for those of you watching, on YouTube here, now you can win a bet with someone who's not, and say, I bet you Hebsy's going to tweet something like, this show will set up your whole weekend or something like that. Oh, I bet you he won't, and then you can win. You'll have prior knowledge. It's called past posting in horse racing. Here we go.
Wow. Or like when Proline screwed up and they had you could bet on the European soccer matches that already happened.
Yeah, there was one in particular that was, the match had already been played or something, and it was on the docket. And you were going, ooh.
Right. I remember that because I was working at a grocery store, and I remember the guys were talking about that. Some Italian league, I think. I think it was Italian league.
Yeah, in fact, I saw a terrific documentary, all dubbed in Italian, from Italian, about the Italian soccer scandal with the referees. It really interesting. I can't think of the name of it now, nor can I think of which service I watched it on. I think it was Netflix, but it could have been Crave. No, not Crave.
Too many now.
It was HBO,
Prime,
which is Crave, Prime, or no, Apple.
Apple.
I
don't have Apple. That's the one I don't.
Yeah, I just got Apple and I got rid of Prime.
Okay,
I made the swap because Apple has what have I been watching on? Oh, Ted Lasso is sensational, but also the morning show is on Apple.
Oh, and Severance is there too.
Yeah, Severance is there too. Yeah.
Hey, but here's the thing: my wife, Monica, likes Prime because it's bundled with some delivery service from Amazon. It's not just streaming.
Oh no, that's right. You get free. It's free delivery.
So it's we would have it even if
Amazon
we didn't watch
Prime
it.
gives you free delivery, right? And Amazon Prime Video. And some other things as well. Yeah, there you go. But I don't order enough. You guys order from that. I don't order enough from that.
Well, I don't order anything, but she's big on that. Things just show up, clothes for the kids and stuff.
Okay, let me get this little.
I'm not much of a consumer, Hebsy.
I'm sorry to hear that. Or am I?
Well, look at I've been wearing the same T-shirt for 15 years.
That's okay. Does this shot look okay?
Yeah, I can see the BlueJay logo. Yeah, it looks good.
Head is framed and stuff like that. Because I've got you on the big screen here.
Oh my God, you have two screens going.
No.
Okay.
I have one screen going.
Okay, because you said
but
the
you
big
told me
screen.
No,
Like-
because you told me to expand it so that now I'm looking
Oh.
at it. I can't see what happens is I put my my what do you call it there? My iPad here, right here, not in so that I can read off of a script that I have, but make it seem like I'm looking at you. But what it does is it covers my box in the on the video screen, so I can't see myself. I can just see you, so it's more natural that way. Because I don't want to be looking over at myself. You know, people like that going, "Hi, hi." And they're looking at them. You can tell they're looking at themselves, you know, especially if you're inexperienced and then the director goes, okay, take camera 2. And the person's still looking over at camera 1 and they go, give one of these like, oh, you can tell.
Well, you're a television professional. That's what I know.
Was.
Once
no
a pro,
longer.
Always a pro.
No.
Oh, yeah, I
don't get paid for television. I'm not a professional.
Right. Okay.
Amateur now. I mean, I've got back to my amateur status.
Yeah, you're
all right. We got a clean opening, a cold opening here. So if you're ready, Mike, I'm ready. Let's get ready.
All right, ready when you are. Yeah, rock and roll.
Well, no, you've got to it's got to be official, and then you've got to give me the finger. And
all right, Hebsy, I'm recording it in 5, 4, 3.
The following podcast is brought to you by Crosswinds Golf and Country Club in Burlington. Just 45 minutes from downtown Toronto, you'll find the most beautiful and affordable public golf course in Ontario. And I've been to all of them. Well, not all of them. Well, most of them. $1 million views of the Niagara Escarpment. Has your course got that? Outstanding customer service. Has your course? Do they have that? Do they have great banquet facilities, practice facilities, fabulous pro shop, the nicest people, and fabulous golf on a championship course? And is your course the type where you don't have to phone in to book your tee time? Like Crosswinds, for example, you can save $10 per golfer if you book your tee time online. Are you kidding me, Hebsy? That's $40 per foursome. Enough to have a little lunch at the Back Nine Bistro. Hey, why believe me? Why trust me? Go to crosswindsgolf.com, book your tee time right there online, save some dough, and make sure you tell them Hebsy sent you. It's that simple. All right, Mike, I think we're ready. Let's start the podcast. Hey, sports fans, welcome to Hebsy on Sports, episode number 287. Mark Hebscher along with Toronto Mike, and what a show we've got for you today. It's Joe Tilley Day on the podcast. We'll be giving out Joe Tilley bobblehead dolls today. I was at the game the other night. The Teoscar Hernandez bobblehead. And the people in front of us we thought they had left their bobbleheads under the seat. We were like scheming. What if they don't come back? Can we grab them? Anyway, they came back. They were gone for like 4 innings. And then came back with drinks and food. Oh, it's crazy. BlueJays have won 8 in a row. Welcome to the show, everybody. What a day we've got. Minnesota Twins in town to take on the BlueJays, who've won 8 in a row. The Colorado Avalanche have put the Edmonton Oilers behind the 8 ball in the Stanley Cup Conference Finals. Rangers with a 1-0 lead on Tampa. Who figured that? Warriors drawing first blood in the NBA Finals? No. Looked like it for a while there. And then they played the worst fourth quarter of the history of an NBA Finals. Got blown out by Boston at home. The Warriors. Women's tennis. Is it less appealing than men's? Well, according to the French Open tournament director, it is. Ooh. Women's tennis is, let's say it, dull. No, I'm not saying it. She's saying it. Okay, the French Open tournament director insulting women's tennis, and she's a woman. Anyway, Dustin Johnson and others decide to go for the Saudi money instead of the PGA Tour, which means the RBC Canadian Open won't have RBC's Dustin Johnson. All those commercials, all those promises from Dustin Johnson. I'm committed to RBC and the PGA Tour. You liar. You're a liar. Giants manager Gabe Kapler won't stand for the National Anthem. He says America's not in the right place. He doesn't feel. What do you think about that? Much more to talk about today on the show. First, let's go to the mothership in Etobicoke. No, sorry, not Etobicoke.
Yeah, it's Etobicoke.
Is it Etobicoke?
Yeah.
So it's New Toronto and Etobicoke.
Yeah, New Toronto's the neighborhood, and Etobicoke is the old borough. Yeah. Once you cross this side of the Humber River, you're in Etobicoke. Yeah.
You know, I remember mailing a letter once to England, and the address was like Shropshire, West Highlands, Yorkshire, Southwest 74. Like there was like way too many designations. And I think you and I have discussed this before. This is completely off topic, but it's my show.
Yeah.
How like, for example, you'll say, well, what street are you on? Well, I'm so-and-so street. It's Islington Avenue, but then it becomes something else.
Yeah,
and then it becomes this street, and then it's called that, and then it's called Highway 11.
Right. I
mean,
There's a lot of that.
And even if you go to maps and say, or you just go to Siri and say, 143, 18th Street, they'll find there's a way to screw it up. Is that Toronto? Is that North York? Is that Etobicoke? Is that Mississauga? Is it New Toronto? Is it Mimico? Is it Long Branch? Which is it? Well, it's just, come on.
Get that postal code right. I will tell you, you don't actually need to put the neighborhood on your envelope when you're mailing it to me. When you're sending me my T-shirt, you don't have to put New Toronto on there.
I've got your T-shirt. I've got your.
I can bike to you anytime.
I'll make you. I was going to come over yesterday. You were doing 12:36 in your backyard.
Yes. Yeah.
I thought that would just be wrong because why would you do that, Hebsy? You could come the next day on your own.
That would be the best.
I could have gotten up early this morning and cycled over, but I'm feeling my age these days. And I've been working hard, Mike. You know what I did this week?
Tell me what you did.
Listen, first of all, I walked 100,000 steps. That's my goal every week, is 100,000 steps.
That's a lot of steps.
Yeah. So what it is, basically, I'm trying to do 15,000 steps a day for 6 days. There's 90,000. And then I can relax on the Sunday. Right. And so I've done it 2 weeks in a row. So I've walked 200,000 steps. I've cycled not nearly as much because it takes, away from my walking.
Right.
I golfed twice.
Wow.
I went to the Jays game. We were going to go Tuesday to the Looney Nights. I figured, man, I could eat like 8 hot dogs. I could easily eat 8 hot dogs.
Easily.
And $8, goes a long way. I thought against it. We went the next night instead. Actually, my friend Simon from up the street had tickets. He's got great seats right behind home plate, 17 rows up. Every foul ball is an adventure. And also you have to be careful on the ricochet because if it's fouled straight back, remember there's no netting above home plate anymore. They got rid of that years ago. There's no netting there that used to stop the pop fouls from back there. Right. But the ones that are fouled straight back, a lot of times they come right back off of the concrete or back off the private boxes or something. And you can get hit in the head. I've seen it happen. Like right in the back. If you're not paying attention, that sucker goes right by you. And before you know it, it ricochets back and hits you in the head. So I'm telling you, it happened to me. I turned back around and before I know it, it's ricocheted back and like 5 rows in front of me, it hits like whammo somebody.
Okay.
And 5 rows isn't much, Mike. 5 rows is if that person moves a little bit, it hits me in the side of the head. It was like a shooting gallery.
Well, that's your Secret Service, like your bodyguard taking a shot for you, when Hebsy goes in these public appearances.
It was, and believe me, the fans, every fan appreciates another fan that saves them from anything from spilling their popcorn or beer to getting hit in the side of the head. And now every adult that gets a ball has to find the nearest kid and give them the ball. They're shamed into it. They have to do it.
Can I ask you about
all
this?
It takes is one person to go, hey, give the ball to the kid.
Let me ask you about this.
Goes, yeah, come on.
Let's say you and I go to a ball game and I catch a foul ball.
Yeah.
I have an 8-year-old boy at home who would, if I brought home a game ball, it would blow his mind. He'd be so excited. Like, that's a good enough excuse to not give it to the nearest kid, right? That I'm bringing this
but you have to declare yourself immediately. Okay. Within 5 seconds, you have to, instead of holding it up, going, yeah, I got it. You're going to go like this. This is for my kid that's at home that loves baseball. Don't ask me about it again. All right. I'm reading a tweet yesterday from I think it was Brad Wheeler, and he's saying that the guy behind him at the game, and I've gone through this before, the person sitting behind you, usually someone who you never see face to face, you might catch a glance at them, but you really couldn't describe them. If the cop said, "Okay, what did they look like?" He said, "I don't know." But but their voice and the way they're describing the game, and I forget what it was, but he was complaining, about someone behind them being a leather lung and yelling stuff out and stuff like that. And you wanted to turn around and say something like, listen, you've got it all wrong. Your facts are wrong.
Right.
You're calling him something and you've got the wrong guy or something. It was something to that effect. I'm like, how many people are like that? How many people go to the game? Like the people sitting next to us the other day didn't say a word, not one word for 9 innings. I mean, they spoke to each other.
Right.
But they didn't say a word. They were watching. Right. They were. But they didn't say a word, utter a word about the guy. Like even when Vladdy hit the home run, they didn't even stand up. But they drank and ate like freaking camels, these two.
Wow.
Young people, they showed up
the opposite
with
of camels.
Lots of food and beer.
Oh, I see.
Now what happens is where we were sitting, okay, you've got the cup holders, okay?
Yeah.
So everybody has their own cup holder. But
Yeah.
what if you show up with 2 beers and your girlfriend or your wife's got 2 beers as well?
Right.
And you got 2 hot dogs each and popcorn. So what do you do with the beers? Well, you put one in the cup holder and the other one you put under your seat. Am I right, Mike?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. No, but these 2, they didn't have room for under their seats because they had their bobbleheads and they had their everything or whatever. And so the dude puts, I don't have a cup, I'm not drinking anything. The guy puts his other beer into my cup holder, right?
Did you have a drink?
No, there was no drink there. So it was an open cup holder. He put it into my cup holder. But now I got to shift my weight and my knees and everything away from my cup holder because he's going to keep reaching over. And not that I don't mind him touching my knee. You know, if it's brushing up against it, that's part of it. But like the whole, anyway, the experience. We'll talk about it later on.
Okay, so that's a fun Jays game experience, and you were talking about all the cycling and the walk. Well, the walk.
Planted my garden. So I went to Jays game, right? Okay, went through all that. Planted my garden.
Yeah.
Okay, very excited about that. I watched Shoresy, The Morning Show, and Ted Lasso, and I read 2 books.
Okay, firstly, back to the show.
I read this book here. Well, really good book about the history.
Okay, live from New York.
Fantastic.
That'd be right up
this book here. Rumor in town about a Major League Baseball player, pretty famous player, who was suspected of, but never did, smoking marijuana back in the 40s.
Oh,
okay, 40s. Rumor in town. They had started a rumor. It was started by Branch Rickey, the guy who signed Jackie Robinson.
Right.
This guy over here, this guy Dahlgren,
right.
Pot smoker, marijuana. Stay away from him. How about that?
Right.
Very interesting story, written by his grandson, Matt Dahlgren. Good book.
Okay, those 3 shows you watched. I've seen the morning show. I enjoyed it. And I watched Ted Lasso. I enjoyed it. And tell me, how is Shoresy? That's from the Letterkenny guys, right?
Oh, my God. You have to be supremely intelligent to understand Shoresy. It's got nothing to do with whether you like hockey or not. You have to be really intelligent. You do. Because I watched it and rewatched it and went, oh, my God, I missed that. How did I miss that? And then I watched the 3rd time. I go, oh, I missed that one too. While she was saying this on the same shot, the other one was doing this and the other one was doing that.
Okay.
Right? It's really.
You need closed captioning so you can follow the action.
No. It's really well done. But you got to be extremely alert. Okay? You can't be on barbiturates or alcohol and watch this show. You won't. You'll
and you can't be on your phone, right? You got to focus.
And you can't be. No, you can't. You got to really be paying attention. But it's good. It's really well done.
Got the Hebsy seal of approval. By the way, speaking of good, those Jays have not lost since we last spoke.
Remember that? Remember I said last week, I said the Blue Jays would have to go 72 and 52, 20 games above 500 in order to win 92 games. One more than they won last year. Guess what? Looks like they can achieve that because they won 8 in a row and now they're 10 games above the 500 mark. So how tough is it going to be to get 20 games above the 500 mark? And that doesn't guarantee you a wild card spot, but this year it's going to give you a much better chance because there are 3 instead of 2 wild card spots available in each league. And the Jays now holding the top wild card spot in the American League. And they've done it without leadoff man George Springer for the past 2 games. Now, I don't want to, Mike, I don't want to speculate. I'm not a speculative person in that particular regard.
Yeah.
We're told that George Springer has an upper body injury and it's not COVID related. He could only watch from the dugout the last 2 nights as the Jays beat the White Sox last night 8-3 behind the stellar pitching of Alek Manoah. Now, Manoah was charged with all 3 runs earned in the 8th inning, but should not have been charged with any. And here's why. It was a mistake by the official scorer. I don't know who the official scorer was.
Is it Roger Lajoie?
I don't know. I don't know. Again, it doesn't matter because rarely, if ever, does someone, who's the official scorer? Rarely. But with 2 outs and a runner at first base, the Jays were in the shift when Lurie Garcia hit a bouncer to third baseman Matt Chapman. Now, 99 times out of 100, Matt Chapman grabs the ball, throws to first, and gets him probably by about a step and a half. Garcia's pretty quick, but it wasn't going to be bang, bang. He would have got it. But inexplicably, Matt Chapman tried to get the force at second base. Now, in the shift, you're not playing in your regular spot, and Santiago Espinal, the second baseman, was not expecting Chapman to go to him for the shift. So he was late to the bag. And that mistake by Chapman, and that was an error, meant that he didn't have time to throw to first. Everyone's safe. Base hit by the official score. Now, Mike, that's a ground ball. It's a bouncing ball to the third baseman. It's not a base hit.
Right.
It's not. And it's not a fielder's choice because no out was got. That's an error. That is an error. That's an error in judgment. Even Matt Chapman, when the camera was on him, pointed to himself. My bad. Pointed to himself. My bad. Okay. In other words, I made a mistake. That's an error. I made an error. But for some reason, officials go, oh, no, he didn't bobble the ball. He didn't make a bad throw. Is it a fielding error? Is it a throwing error? It's a fielding error. Okay. He got the ball cleanly and then didn't complete making a throw to first base. That's a fielding error. The fact that he didn't actually throw it doesn't matter. So that was fucking bullshit. Right. And now the next guy gets a hit. The next guy gets a hit. Now Manoah gets pulled out. Anyway, 3 runs come in. It's now from a 4-0. It's 4-3. And those 3 runs are earned because the official scorer gave Lurie Garcia a hit. That's not a hit. He didn't beat it out. He wouldn't have beaten it out if Chapman just throws to first. You see what I mean?
100%.
So at the end of the year, Mike, when the Cy Young voting comes and Alek Manoah is 1 vote short, it's because his fucking ERA was, 1.87 instead of 1.42 or whatever the difference. That's 3 earned runs. 3 earned runs.
But Hebsy
gets charged with.
If you see a pop up, let's say there's a high fly ball, I don't know, shallow left field.
Got it.
It might be it's a sunny day.
Okay.
Left fielder loses it in the sun. The ball drops 2 feet from him because they always call that a hit.
Yeah.
But that's sort of similar. No, that's like that. Like that.
Well, it isn't. In this particular case, there was no sun. There was no anything else. He fielded cleanly, and the routine play is, again, if it's a routine play and you don't make the routine play, it's got to be an error. It can't be a hit. If you were to ask the batter, if you were to say to Lurie Garcia, was that a hit? He'd say, I'll take a hit any day. That was a ground out, man.
Sure,
that's Matt Chapman. That's not Gold Glover Matt Chapman. Right. That's Platinum Glover Matt Chapman. So it's a mental error, right? It wasn't physical. He didn't bobble the ball. He didn't throw the ball away. But you still got to give him an error on that. And if I'm Alek Manoah, I'm fucking steaming like I was last week when they pulled me out of the game. I'm like, but my team won, and it's okay. And he might end up winning the Cy Young Award regardless. He went 7 2/3. The offense pounds out 12 hits. Teoscar Hernandez is back, baby. Espinal, 3 hits and 3 RBI. Jays won 12 of 15, 5 back of the Yankees. And you know what? I'm disappointed in the turnout. It's kind of like the voter turnout in Ontario in the election. I'm serious.
Be that bad.
Mike, 25,000 on Tuesday, 23,000 Wednesday, 25,000 yesterday afternoon, 72,000 for a sweep of the White Sox. Pretty good team. And we're
early
good.
June, though. Early June.
I don't give a crap. The weather was beautiful. The roof was open. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. You got a first place team here. Well, not first place team. You got a championship caliber team here. Let's go. We can do better. We got Minnesota coming in, the AL Central leaders coming in for 3 games. We got Yusei Kikuchi, the lefty for the Jays, right-hander Chichi Gonzalez. Chichi Gonzalez.
I was going to do that, Les Nessman. That's great.
Starts for the Twinkies. They're 30. Okay, all right.
Chai Rod will get, yeah.
Yeah. Joe Tilley, our guest, coming up in...
coming up. You're supposed to say coming up.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry.
We talked about this, Hebsy. Coming up.
A buddy of mine says to me, you should, every week your guest should be a sportscaster, a former sportscaster, somebody that you worked with, somebody that we all know that's retired or whatever. So, okay, there's lots of people. There's tons of them. Some of them aren't retired from the business. Some are still in the business, but their employers maybe won't allow them to, or they can't really say, what they want to. They're not.
But you can find the guys because you have these chats of these guys over a beer or coffee or whatever. But you got to find the guys who are out of fucks to give. Just come and tell the truth because you don't care about.
Well, no, not so much that. Tell the truth because we deserve to hear the truth. And
but you're not worried about your employer punishing you or whatever or being blackballed.
We can't expect. Remember, we had Eric Smith on. What's he going to say about? What's he going to say?
Right.
Going to say, hey, Eric, we heard you on the Hebsy podcast. You're gone. You can't do that. You got to, of course, you got to protect the gig.
Of course.
Okay, listen, I knew the Edmonton Oilers were in trouble last night during the singing of the National Anthem in Denver. All right. Amanda Hawkins screwed up the words to O Canada. Okay. You were watching this going, wait a minute. She used that old line in All Thy Sons Command.
Yeah.
And I went, oh, wait a second. Hang on. Because we all know the new lyrics are in All of Us Command, which make no sense. Okay, so there was a slight murmur in the crowd. I know a slight murmur in the crowd, and many Canadians thought, "Oh, remember when they flew the Canadian flag upside down in Atlanta during the World Series? Remember how we went apeshit over that? I mean, did Amanda Hawkins not get the memo? Did she not update? Did she go to Google? Lyrics, oh Canada. New lyrics, oh Canada. 1906 lyrics, oh Canada. Oh Canada, lift little glory. Which version did she get? Like when you go to the internet, did you check?
Right.
Is that the official version? Oh, that's the 2007 version of Oh Canada. Come on. Yeah,
but you can see this happening.
Star-Spangled Banner, same words since 1776. Same words.
Right. Quite the violent anthem there. But I'm sure she Googled it and then ended up with an older lyric sheet and had no idea. It's been
anyway, it was a bad omen.
By the way, we need to update that again. It needs another update.
Yeah, it was a bad omen. It was just a bad omen right then and there. I went, oh shit, we're done. The Oilers are done. Canada, we're screwed. Okay. And so Jay Woodcroft, the Oilers, he's got McDavid and Draisaitl. I think I'm going to break them up. Did the manager say, let's break up Simon and Garfunkel? Well, as a matter of fact, he did. Okay. Matter of fact, he did. And Paul Simon went on to a great career and Garfunkel, not so much.
Right.
So what's the deal here? McDavid's going to shine and Draisaitl's going to like dry up. What's happening? He's playing. You don't split up those two guys. Didn't work. Oilers couldn't contain the Avalanche for the second straight game, shut out by Avs backup goalie Pavel Francouz, who turned aside 24 Oilers shots, not that many of them of the dangerous variety, a few here and there. There was a very exciting first period, and then within like 170 seconds in the second period, it was like pop, 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 3-0, game over. Lehkonen, Manson, Rantanen, McKinnon scoring for Colorado, who pumped 40 shots at Oilers goalie Mike Smith, who didn't play badly, really. But the defense was awful for Edmonton. Darnell Nurse played like a bag of toys. And I know there's always the cat. Well, he's hurt. He's playing hurt. Everybody's playing hurt. I don't want to hear that. He's banged up a little. What does that mean? He was banged up a little. Like he was banged up a little. Okay? This is a violent collision sport. If some guy isn't hitting you in open ice, he's banging you up against the board. You're getting sticks all over the place. This is what it's all about. You're missing teeth. You're bleeding, right? Who knows what's going on in your underwear there? Come on. What's with Edmonton, man?
There's an old adage, Hebsy, I'm sure
Mike,
you
Mike,
used it.
Mike, yeah. There's an adage. Okay, don't be redundant.
From the Department of Redundancy Department that
there's an adage.
You're not down in a series until you lose at home.
Okay.
What do you think about that? Even though you can lose in seven,
I think Edmonton will, first of all, the altitude won't be bothering them because you're sucking air there. I don't care. I've been there before. I certainly haven't. I mean, I've traveled there before, but I've not had to, go all out, in games and become acclimatized. But it's weird, man. Even the visiting teams will tell you it's odd playing in Denver. And then when you get back to altitude, back in Edmonton, you're like, oh, this is fantastic. So I expect Edmonton to be fine. And I expect to hear a lot of La Bamba in Oilers country this weekend. Oh, here's what happens with this, right? So now I told you last week, so Steve Berlin gets in touch with me. How do I get in touch with somebody at the Oilers? So I put him in touch with, thanks to my friend Tom Anselmi, who's one of the directors, put him in touch with Stu McDonald, the president, CEO of the Oilers, who happens to be a huge Los Lobos fan. Hello. And we get the two of them together, and then the guys in Los Lobos are going to get some Oilers swag. And I mean, it's been pretty quiet this week because of the two losses in Denver, but they're coming back this weekend to Edmonton. It's going to be fabulous, and it's good for the country too. Because look, normally I wouldn't care nearly as much about any other team in Canada except for the Leafs, but this is different with Edmonton because Zach Hyman plays for Edmonton, and we all like McDavid. He's a Toronto boy, and there's Cody Ceci played for us, and what's his name played for us also a while, Tyson Barrie, and there is some connection there with Toronto players, certainly Hyman, but also they're the only Canadian team, and let's root for them, right?
And Monica's from
Edmonton. There you go. So yeah, but some of the guys got to get into the game, man. I mean, getting shut out. I mean, it was great. Jay Woodcroft, we scored 6 against them. But we scored 6 against them. Beautiful. You scored none the second game. So I expect a big offensive explosion. Big, a 6-goal, minimum 6 goals.
Okay.
I'll take 5.
They need it.
By the way, if I said to you, opener Rangers Tampa, Rangers are going to win 6-2, you'd go, get the fuck out of here. Or you'd say, like on Shoresy, you'd say, shut the fuck up, Sanguinet. which is his famous line in the show. It's the best line. He uses it at absolutely the correct time. Just when you needed a good laugh, they pull this line out. Like, shut up. Hey, there's no way the Rangers are going to score 6 on Vasilevsky. What is it? This is the Stanley Cup. This is the conference finals. Well, guess what? It's been happening. Okay, Rangers win 6-2. They could take a 2-0 series lead on Tampa tonight at Madison Square Garden.
Wow.
Now, I've been watching the Hockey Night in Canada coverage like you. A lot of people on my timeline, Twitter, whatever, are going, oh, Hebsy, you got to watch the TNT. They're way back. I can't get it. I don't have it. I don't go searching for the intermission shows of the other networks. But I've seen the clips, and all their stuff is really good. And all the Hockey Night in Canada stuff is And especially without Kevin Bieksa on the panel. And I have to tell you, frankly, I think there's too much Jennifer Botterill for my liking. She just doesn't add anything to it. She's got her highlight packages. She's reading over them. I'm not getting any insight. TNT, they got Gretzky, they got Tocchet, they got Bissonnette, they got Don Koharski explaining the rule on TNT. And what do we have on Hockey Night in Canada? Okay, Elliot, what's the rule? No, I love Elliot. We love Elliot, but Elliot's responsibility shouldn't be calling an official saying, what's the rule on the offside? They should be able to go, boom, here's Tim Peel. Tim, what's the ruling? Like every other network, ladies and gentlemen, has a retired official. Okay, on the telecast that the guy could sit for, or the woman could sit for the entire game and not get called on. But when they are the rules official. They have it in golf. They have it everywhere, but not Hockey Night in Canada. No. Got to cut back. Come on, man. Come on. Get a former official. It's not hard. Get that official and say, what is the rule? Right there. Instead of Elliot had to phone three former officials. Kerry Fraser, who do we got? Who did he call? Paul Dvorsky. Paul, got to have somebody on the telecast. Real simple, basic television. Come on, Hockey Night in Canada. Come on. Am I right, Mike?
I'm curious more about this Jennifer Botterill analysis here. So
I'm sorry. I don't think she brings anything to it. But I've said that it doesn't, not because she's a woman, because she just.
But is it because I'm curious?
It's because I don't go, oh, that's good nugget. That's good. That was a good, observation.
Can I ask you though?
Something. Sure.
Is it because, this will be because she's a woman, but is it because she didn't play in the NHL?
No, it's got nothing to do with that at all.
Okay, I'm just asking the tough
not
question.
A thing. Here's the thing. You're also on television. And in television, if you're explaining something that's on the screen, right? And remember, you've worked this out with the producer in advance. You got the whole period of hockey, to go, let's take that play there. Let's isolate, give me some highlight that particular area and I'll point to it. This is like the Madden telestrator. You have to remember, you're on television. So if you're talking about something that's on the screen, you can't go, over on your screen right there. It's not that simple. You have to actually be looking at the screen and you actually be pointing to it so that the audience can follow what you're saying, okay, relative to what's on the screen. Now, if it's a big, big wide shot, right, you better say to your producer or whatever, say, look, circle these 4 guys. I'm going to talk about the bad change here, blah, 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 something like that. But I don't get that with her. I'm sorry, just doesn't do it for me. Does not do it for me. That's all there is to it. Kelly Rudy, get what you get with Kelly Rudy. Kelly's solid. Elliot, man, he can do everything. I mean, he's your reporter. He's your breaking news. He's breaking down plays, talking about line combinations, ice time, stuff like that. There's a lot of good stuff there, but I just find that, I don't know, sometimes they try to get to too many different things.
Can I ask you the big question in my mind right now, which is, are you, Hebsy man, missing the contribution of Don Cherry?
I'm missing a contribution, of Don Cherry, similar to Don Cherry. I want that. I want like Gretzky saying, come on.
Character, right? You're looking for some sandpaper.
Even Gretzky came out and they're running clips of it all over Canadian television. I don't see them running clips from Hockey Night in Canada stuff. They're running all these clips from TNT. Well, of course, TSN's running them. Of Gretzky going, look, man, I was the most offensive player in the game. You got to play some defense. You go, well, you know what? From Gretzky, that's big stuff from him going out like that. We need more of that. That's why I say without Kevin Bieksa there to play that role.
Where is Kevin Bieksa? Like they didn't want him.
Did I get here before you? Hey, do you not have a pipeline to the Hockey Night in Canada executive producer?
I haven't really watched.
Well, get out there and get him on the show.
In Game 7 in the first round.
Let's see. We'll get to more hockey. Joe's coming up in a couple minutes. NBA Finals began last night. Coming up, NBA Finals in at the new Chase Center in San Francisco. They're not playing in Oakland anymore. They play in San Francisco now. The Warriors were outscored 40-16 in the fourth quarter. That's a record. 40-16 in the fourth quarter by the Boston Celtics, who went on to win 120-108. In a shocker, the Celtics trailed by 12 points entering the fourth quarter. Then Jaylen Brown and veteran Al Horford took over. Horford had 26 points, including 6 of 8 from distance in his first ever NBA Finals appearance at the age of 36. Mike, 36 years old. That's fantastic. Steph Curry led the Warriors with 34, including 6 3-pointers in the first quarter alone. But Golden State choked and gagged in the fourth quarter. Steve Kerr had better get his club right for game 2, which goes Sunday in San Francisco. Celtics up 1-0. Tennis, French Open final for women goes today. Number 1 seed Iga Swiatek or Swiatek or Kiatek, however you want to pronounce it, gets American teenager Coco Gauff in the final. Iga has won 34 matches in a row and is minus 750 on the betting line on Bodog, meaning that you have to bet $750 in order to make a profit of 100. That's pretty short odds. Don't you? I don't think I'd make that bet. On the men's side, Rafa Nadal is taking on Sasha Zverev in one semifinal, and Christian Ruud takes on Marin Cilic in the other semi, with the final slated for Sunday at the French Open. Amélie Mauresmo, the French Open tournament director, says, quote, "Women's matches are less appealing than men's. And because of that, she only put one women's match per evening on. For the first time, the French Open has like nighttime, late night matches. In fact, the phenomenal quarterfinal between Djokovic and Rafa Nadal was started at like 9 p.m., like ended like after 1 a.m. You don't normally do that, but they only have one women's match per night and like 7 men's matches. And people were complaining. And Mauresmo said, listen, nobody wants to watch. I mean, the women's matches are, less appealing. Less appealing, she said.
That's Joe Tilley calling you. That's Joe.
You think
That's
so?
Joe. I think so. Is it? This is exciting. Live on Hebsy on Sport.
Hello?
He's taking a phone call.
Hebsy,
Yeah.
it's Joe.
Yeah, Joe.
I'm on right now, right? Am I not supposed to be on there somewhere?
Yeah. Did you click the link, Joe?
I didn't see the link. That's what I was calling you about. I didn't
Okay.
see a link.
Mike-
I don't. Maybe it might have gone to junk mail or
All right.
something.
Mike, do me a favor. Okay, Mike, do me a favor. Send the link to Joe, and we'll get him on. No worries, buddy.
Tell Joe he's going to get an email from Toronto Mike right now.
Okay, you're going to get an email from Toronto Mike right now, and we'll talk to you in a few minutes on the podcast.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, buddy. Bye.
It's already there. Maybe clicking in. I could tell you when that phone rings at 8:30 and there's no Joe in the waiting room, I'm like, that's Joe.
It's 9:30, buddy.
Oh yeah, I'm in. Where am I? Central. No, yeah.
But
Central.
this is the beauty. Can you imagine if this was like, if this was radio, right? If this was terrestrial radio, like there is no way. Oh my God, you can't do that. Like
Right.
this is, the phone rings.
This
It's
is how
Joe.
the
He's
cake
our
gets
guest.
baked.
He'll join us in a few minutes. Now I can continue on with what I was saying about, women's tennis.
Yeah, I'm dying to know.
Do you find this to be insulting? This
It's
statement?
mildly offensive to suggest that the women's tennis is not as interesting or as exciting as the men's tennis.
But have I not said before? Have I not said that in women's tennis, the idea is just holding serve is a big deal, right? The consistency of it is if you can hold serve in women's tennis, it's huge. Whereas in men's tennis, you got to break the other guy,
Yeah,
right?
but isn't that two sides of the same coin?
Well,
like I hear you say
perhaps,
that, but to me, it's
but
the
I've
same thing, just flipped. It's the same.
Let me
thing
give you an
now.
example. In women's tennis, there's not a lot of acing, right?
Yeah,
like
they're
in
not
men's
as
tennis, yeah,
fast.
aces. Not a lot of winners, like longer rallies in women's tennis, longer.
Right. Isn't that
back
more
and forth
interesting?
rallies. You find it to be, or do you like winners? You like 3-4 shots and then boom, somebody goes for a winner. And if they hit it, great. And if they don't, they miss, and then they miss. But they take chances. It's riskier. Okay. I don't know, less unforced errors. I don't know about that, but certainly fewer.
I think
winners.
a good rally is more exciting than just winner, winner, winner. I would think the women's tennis is more exciting.
What about a bad rally? What about a boom, boom,
Well,
boom?
you don't want
boom,
unforced
boom,
errors.
boom, boom, back and forth, back and forth. See,
Right.
again, this is the tournament director, Amélie Mauresmo. Okay, a former top player. She's the tournament director. It's her first year. She's putting the matches together or whatever. She's decided that female matches, only one per night, are worthy of the coverage in the evenings, and that 7 men's matches and 1 women's match is the way to go. And the women are insulted by this. They don't feel that this is the right thing.
They're missing Serena Williams. They need some big hitters.
We're going to get to golf in a few minutes, even though we should get to it right off the bat, because last time I saw Joe was on the golf course. we were partners. Today's guest is a native of Edmonton. Started doing sports on CTV Toronto when it was known as CFTO Channel 9. Back in 1984. That's the same year I started doing sports on Global TV, which was Channel 3 or Channel 22 or Channel 6 or Channel 41. I forget. Anyway, this man went on to spend over 30 years at CFTO, CTV Toronto, covering every sport imaginable, including tiddlywinks. He's currently the host of the aptly named Joe Tilley's Great Canadian Sports Show, available on YouTube and via podcast. Please welcome the curator of the Smithsonian, Joe Tilley. Come on, Mike, give it up for Joe.
Hebsy, all right.
He got the email.
Yeah, I got the email. Yeah,
what's up,
thank
buddy?
you.
How are you?
I'm doing great, man. I think I had an email earlier, but I somehow lost it. It went missing somewhere, but that's okay.
That's okay. Hey, listen, we should point out, okay, so you started around the same time as me, 1984. Toronto media we had lots of television stations. We had City TV, we had Channel 11 in Hamilton, we had Barrie, we had you guys, we had us guys, we had CBC, which was CBLT, City TV, Channel 79 back then. Was it Channel 79?
Yeah, I don't even recall.
Might have been.
Mean, it depends on your cable, doesn't it?
I guess so.
Yeah,
anyway, what I'm trying to say is that late at night is when you got your sports, and CFTO was number one, still is number one local station, and Global was an Ontario station kind of based in Toronto, and at around 11:30 at night or 11:40 at night or 11:45. You kind of had your choice. You could go back and forth, or if you had 2 screens, you'd have Joe, on CFTO, and me and Jim were doing Global Sports Line, and it was good.
Oh yeah,
friendly competition back in those days, right, Joe?
Right, was, and it worked out pretty good because our show started at 11:30, but I didn't do my sports till about 1:45 or so, and I always had an opportunity to watch you guys for 10 minutes or so before my show came in. So I made sure I never got scooped on anything. It was freaking awesome.
You worked with a lot of legends. Like me, though, working late at night, you weren't out and about as a reporter the same way. The reporters would get to see each other, right? They would all, hey, I saw so-and-so, Bill Bird, with Sunil Joshi or Stu Bundy or George
Claude
Bryson
Fagg.
or Claude Fagg or whatever would run into, the global reporters. That kind. But you and I didn't run into each other because we were in the studios. We were doing the late night show for all of those years, except at big events or at spring training.
Right, exactly. Yeah, there'd be a big event we'd show up for. Yeah, that's right.
So at spring training, when we told that I was on your podcast, and I think Mike's heard the story before, but at spring training 1 year, with all the media down there, we became the story for like a day.
Oh yeah.
Or something like that.
That was, and the story being as big as it was, like George Bell refusing to report. And then when he finally did report, that's when we got into our little set too, right?
So tell the folks what happened, because it was written up by John Robertson in the Toronto Star the next day. It was written up like a boxing match, right, Joe?
Oh yeah. Jim Hunt wrote up, talked about it too. He wrote about it and he talked about it, and he had a great line, Jim Hunt. You know what he said? He said, that Joe Tilley, he comes from a great line of boxers, and he's talking to, and he says, but I come from a great line of lawyers.
I would too. So the story goes like this. The story goes like this. So Joe and I are friendly rivals, right? Well, we don't know each other because he's working in the building at CFTO, and
we certainly know of each other.
We knew of each other, and I'm working in the building in Don Mills, 5 nights a week, and we've got our families and our other lives doing it other times. But for spring training, of course, like, oh, look, the Blue Jays are whatever. George Bell's the MVP. They choked and gagged in the 87 season. So it's 1988. It's spring. All right, Joe, you go down there. You go down there with your cameraman, Rob Mulligan. You're down there for a week, for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
We got to get the George Bell story. We got to get the feel for spring training. Jimmy Williams is under the gun. Right. At the same time, all right, Global's going down as well. All right, Hebsy, you're going down there with, your cameraman. I forget who my cameraman was. It might have been, it's Paul Materiak. It was Materiak.
Oh, okay.
And he was drunk and stoned the whole time. The whole time he's drunk and
he
stoned.
later came to our place.
We couldn't wake him up, man. I'm telling you, it was wicked. It was wicked. So he's the cameraman, right? So we're down there.
Okay.
And we had gotten a tip that George Bell everyone was like, George Bell's late. He actually wasn't late. He was on time, but everyone else came early. And so everyone's waiting for George Bell. He's the defending MVP, all that.
Yeah.
The rumor is that he's going to be the DH because they've added like Rob Ducey or Sil Campusano, I think it was, right?
Right. Yeah.
And now Joe and I, we're all waiting for George Bell. We're waiting at the complex with our cameras, right? And for one reason or another, I don't know, I go into the clubhouse and there's Joe with George Bell and cameraman Rob Mulligan's shooting. And I'm like, wait a minute, you're not supposed to shoot in the club. I was supposed to wait for the guy to come outside and everybody's there. And it's like sort of a free for all, right? A scrum.
Right.
And so there's Joe. And I say to myself, this shouldn't be like, you should have the same opportunity as Joe and CFTO and CTV, which by the way, were the rights holders. It's another thing. And I'm like, this can't be. And I interrupt. Joe's about to ask a question. And I go, no. And I walk in front of the camera. And I interrupt this interview. Wow. Joe is seething. Rob Mulligan wants to kill me. Bell is like, what the fuck's going on here? I'm screaming and yelling, making a big scene. Hey, you're not allowed to. The players are in the clubhouse.
Okay, go ahead. Finish it.
No, and I just think that's how I remember it. Like, and you have every right to be mad at me, but at the same time, I'm like, hey, where's the democracy here? And Howie Starkman, the PR guy, I'm like, Howie, is this, was this like, how come, why are we all waiting outside and Joe gets the interview?
We went into the dressing room because we had the opportunity to do that. So we went into the dressing room and we were about to interview George. CHCH Fred Anderton, right, was there. He's also in the dressing room. He saw me go up to George and I had my microphone, and Anderton said, "Look, George really hates my guts. He won't talk to me. Can you hold my mic for me?" So before this interview is starting now, so CHCH was there as well, standing by. But and he has, and I said, yeah, sure, I don't care. I'll hold your microphone. Who cares? So I'll hold your microphone. And now here's this is the part that you probably forgot. But I remember. I'm sure I did. So I'm holding the two mics, and I say, so I start the interview with George, and George says, "How come you got two mics?" And I said, "I'm just holding the mic for a friend, no big deal." And he's about to start. And that's when you chirped in and says, "Two mics? Yeah, what's this two mic stuff?" That's
what I did?
Yes, that's what you did. And that's what George, and he says, "I don't want to talk right now." So now I'm freaking seething, right? And that's how that was the part of it that we
I'm glad you cleared that up. I apologize. I didn't know that. I thought that like we were getting scooped.
But you were getting scooped because your cameraman wasn't there yet, right?
No. He was there. Well, okay. Well, that's another story.
Okay.
No. He was
there, but not there. Whatever.
He was there, but he was outside on the.
He was
on
outside,
the other side
right?
Of the door.
Right.
No, but what happened was, I think, now that you say it, it's like, okay, Joe.
Yeah.
You guys are the rights holders, so
right.
this is okay. But what's the Channel 11 mic fucker? Those fuckers. What's that CHCH mic doing here? That's when I exploded.
I think that's
I really should have gone after Anderton and Phil Bell, right?
Right.
Or Boylo, whoever was there. I should have gone after those motherfuckers. Oh, okay. Well, there you go. But anyway, you're right. So the next day in the Toronto Star, in the Sun.
So we had words, and and I yelled at you a little bit and stuff like that. And we,
but did we not? Seriously, did we not make up? Like, was it not the fastest makeup ever?
Oh yeah.
Did we not make up like that?
Yeah, pretty much. It was
like that?
It was probably something like that. I'm sure. Look, it wasn't hard for me, especially in those days, to convince me to have a beer. It was pretty easy. Put it that way.
Me too. I told you.
Several.
Our cameraman, Joe. Listen, Paul Materiak. Okay, I don't know where he is now. Listen,
He came to our place later. I know Paul.
No, I know that. But the trips I took with this guy, I'm telling you, imagine being in Florida for a week with someone and there's drugs, there's alcohol, there's, your schedule is basically, look, shoot some baseball and just stay out of the way kind of a thing. And we'll do the rest, right? And like, man, I remember him going, George Bell saying, get that camera out of my fucking face. I'll never forget it. Materiuk is rolling. Bell is walking towards one of the back fields at the complex, right? With Cito Gaston, who's trying to cool him out, and Materiuk is following. And I'm saying, you just fucking stay with him. You keep rolling. I remember saying to him, I don't give a shit what happens. Just roll. I want that footage. And he would do it. He didn't care. And he's rolling, and Cito's like, come on, leave us alone. And Bell is like, get that fucking camera out of my face. And Materiuk's right up in him. It was beautiful until Bell just puts the glove right over the camera. Oh, those were the days. He did the same with Joe Paterno. He got right up in his face on the Penn State sidelines doing his thing with Papadopoulos. I'll never forget it. He goes, I got some great footage. I go, what did you do? He goes, I got right up in Paterno's face. I go, are you nuts? He goes, look at this footage.
Yeah.
And in those days, you couldn't look at it immediately. You had to wait. Remember the cameras? You had to go and watch it on a machine. You couldn't view it in the camera, what you had just shot.
Right. Well, you have to take the tape out and look at it. Yeah. Much different. You had no idea what you had until you looked at the video later. We had a situation where Dan Maloney told my cameraman to stick that effing camera up your ass. Stick that fucking camera up your ass. Stick that fucking camera up your ass.
Maloney was scary too, right? Like, okay.
Oh yeah. Well, and Dad wasn't happy with me because I'd said some things about him and the franchise, and let's face it, we were on their case pretty bad back in the day, but for good reason. They were really a crappy franchise, really crappy hockey team, and things were not going well, and some of the players were saying different things which I'd heard, and so Dan was pretty pissed off, but. Dan was a good guy, I think, just out of his realm. You know what I mean? It was just like back in the day when Harold Ballard would say, you, what are you, Gord Stuck, what do you do here? Well, I'm an assistant PR director. Like, you're the general manager. Okay, you, what are you doing? Dad, what do you know these days? Just working out with the team. Yeah, you're the head coach. That's the way things were back then, right? So.
Yeah, it's true too. And now, you want to educate today's Leaf fans as to what it was really like back then, not from people who looked and said, hey, the Leafs made the playoffs like 5 years in the 80s. You're going, wait a second. Yeah. They made the playoffs with like 57 points. Right. And so you have
in the Norris division.
In the North Division.
The Norris division, right?
I think context is really important now, especially when, it's so easy for people to just pop up the stats. You have to go, wait a second. You're looking at some agate type that says they finished third in their division and won 2 rounds of the playoffs. Let me tell you what that team was like. Okay.
Yeah.
And so the day-to-day, to follow a team day-to-day like we did, to follow the Maple Leafs and going, what are we going to get now from Ballard, from Floyd Smith, from like whoever was involved in the Gardens in those days. And then, of course, when the scandal hit, right after Ballard had passed away, right, it was like, oh my God, what else went on in that building?
Yeah.
Crazy. Boxing is your sport, right? Boxing has always been like, if you could pick one sport, boxing would be it, right?
Oh yeah, no question. Yeah.
So what was it? Who did you first start following? Because with me, it was Ali when he was Cassius Clay. And I just remember who is this guy? Man, he was something. But who was it for you?
Well, yeah, it was Ali, no doubt about it. I mean, he got my interest, and I got really excited back in 1966 when George Chuvalo fought Ali. That was really exciting. And my brother, who was 12 years older than me, we would spar, like. He'd stand on his knees, and and we'd, get it on, and I was George Chuvalo and he was Ali. Well, yeah, Ali and Clay than Ali, and it was like, that sort of started it. But I really got turned on to boxing in the 76. That's when I started boxing, is in 76, watching Sugar Ray Leonard and the American team at the 76 Olympics in Montreal. And I was watching the boxing coverage wire to wire. I was, watched follow the Canadians like Chris Clark and Ian Clyde and all the guys who came close but didn't win any medals. But, Carmen Rinke, who was an Alberta boy, who, I later got a chance to travel with and stuff like that. It really perked my interest. But watching Sugar Ray Leonard was like, I want to be like that guy. I want to be like that guy, because I always thought I had fast hands, and I just always felt I could be like that kind of a fighter. So I right after the Olympics in '76, I got my shit together and went down to the boxing club and started working out and training. And in '77, early in '77, I won the Alberta Novice Championship, and then in '78, I turned open, won the Open Championship, went to the Nationals, got a bronze medal at the Nationals, and got a chance to travel with the Canadian team, and it was great. So knocked out the Irish champ in Belfast. That was my favorite memory from boxing. Johnny Thompson, second round knockout.
Nice.
Yeah.
You wore headgear?
Internationally, we didn't have to. And when we fought in Ireland, I didn't have to wear headgear. That was fun.
So you took some shots, right?
Oh, I took some shots. Listen, Eddie.
And are you feeling it now? I mean, I would think you could relate, for example, when you see these stories about athletes with CTE, right?
Yeah.
I mean, constantly, Mike Webster of the Pittsburgh Steelers, I don't have to tell you, right?
Yeah.
Ali developing Parkinson's, all that. Did you ever feel any ill effects from that?
Well, any fighter will tell you, Hebsy, it's the accumulation, and it's mostly in sparring. Like, I think you take your worst shots in sparring. Like sometimes you're sparring with guys who are bigger than you. Sometimes you're sparring with guys who are really aggressive and throwing haymakers, and once in a while you'll get hit by them. I mean, I remember having my bell rung sparring, a few times, right? And in fights a couple of times.
When you say you had your bell rung, great boxing expression, but come on, nowadays.
Yeah. It's a concussion for sure.
What did you feel? What did it feel like?
It felt like, you felt like pins and needles running through your head. It felt like just like you're just sort of, I guess the best way to describe it is pins and needles running through your head. It's fuzzy feeling in your brain.
But your competitive spirit takes over, right? So, no,
right.
I'm good.
Well, you're good. But then, you usually, if there's a good trainer around, he'll stop and he'll say, okay, that's enough for today. A good trainer will see it in you. He'll say, that's enough for today. So the coach trainer will stop the action, and you won't have any of that. And then, I'll come back the next day. I'm still feeling a little bit, not so good. Kind of got a headache, kind of stick to my stomach. So I'm off for a week, 2 weeks, whatever it takes. Yeah. And then after a while, you feel like you're back to normal. So you're ready to go at it. But there would be periods of time when you say, you know what, I'm just not right. And most coaches will honor that. Even back then, today, 100% they will. 100%. If you've had your bell rung today, you'll be you won't get a chance to spar or fight for probably a month anyway. Yeah.
Wow.
Today. Yeah.
Your buddy Toronto Mike is here, of course, and we haven't formally, you guys haven't formally said hi, but Mike, why don't you jump in here?
Joe, good to see you again, buddy.
Hey, Mike, good to see you too, man. I got 2 coffees going here. Look at this.
You're double fisting.
My wife brought me home.
Careful the way you say that, Mike. Just be careful.
But Joe, I've never seen a broadcaster more enjoy their retirement than you.
What about me? Wait.
No, listen. Hebsy, you're enjoying retirement, but Joe, exotic locales, like he's just living the life. I feel like the best thing that ever happened to Joe Tilley was the day they packaged him out of CFTO there. This was a big
okay,
game.
Yeah, it was. And you know what? Our perspective changed in life in 2014 when our son Spencer died, right? That was a big change in our life, right? So everything, what's important is all of a sudden, change, your perspective changes. And, from 2014 to the time I retired in December 2017, from that period of time, what used to be important no longer seems so important. So when they put me back on weekends, I mean, we're now doing, cuts. It's with Rogers and Bell. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
They cut it to ribbons, right? And so just Lance and I are left, and we got to do 14 shows between us. So I'm working weekends for the first time in 30 years now.
Oof, man.
And it's like, it's a grind, and Hebsy, back in the day when we used to anchor at night, and that's all we had to worry about. Like I'd go golf, we go to golf tournaments. I get MC golf tournaments. I'd leave the golf tournament at 10 o'clock, say goodbye to everybody, go to the station, put my show together, bada bing, bada boom. I'm off at 11:30. Go, oh, that was a tough day.
Yep.
We had it good. Let's face it. We had it.
I agree.
Good.
Yeah, those days. And there's more bell cuts, by the way, today, Joe. They're coming in Montreal. I understand that they're cutting the bell station there, CFC. Anyway, it's terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible.
So it's brutal. They've cut it to nothing. So anyway, there's just Lance and I. We're gonna get all these shows in, and they've got us working. And I'm not enjoying the work. I'm driving to work on a Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon, going, what am I doing? I don't even like this anymore. And so I went to see my financial guy, and we with our pension stuff and everything else. And I said, "What do you think?" And he said, "Well, you're ready to go anytime. You're good to go." And he said,
"You're good to go."
Bob,
so you said you were good to go.
Yeah.
So how many years? How many years did you have in with the company?
At that time, probably 32 and
Wow.
32 and a half. So
you were how old?
60. Yeah.
So that's 93. That's 93. That's a pretty good number for most companies, eh, Mike? 93 is a number. That's a good number to retire.
For sure. So when he said that, I thought, great. And he said, you see what's happening here. Like, all these people are getting packages. He said, why don't you hang in? Hang in for another maybe year or so and see if you can't get a package. Well, probably 3 months later, I get called into human resources, and I know it's coming. One of two things is coming. I auditioned for this gig as a sports announcer, and I got it. And I thought, because I didn't clear it with the station, they're giving me shit for it. But sure enough, it was the good thing. So they offered me the package, and it was quite nice, and so off I went, and it worked out really well. And then one thing led to another. Started doing the podcast and like doing that, and then had an opportunity to with Nexus Vacations, which is now Trip Oppo, is go on vacation, and I'm going to Egypt and Jordan in November.
Wow.
Well, that's great.
And taking a group of people, whoever wants to come, they can sign up.
I'll be there, buddy. I'll be there.
Nice.
Come on, hop on board, man. It's a pretty good deal.
What's the itinerary?
$4,100. $4,100 includes all your airfare, all your accommodation, all your meal. There's 15 days in Egypt and Jordan. You're riding the camel. You're seeing the pyramids. You're, on 5-day Nile River cruise. And Jordan, of course, and it's there's a lot of great historical, and cool. Biblical stuff going on there. So I mean, it's pretty cool. Yeah,
I would sign up if it was. That sounds like fun. Not my kind of trip, but I would sign up if it was like a golf trip. If it was like 15 days golfing.
Yeah. Well, I do that too, right? So
you let me know about that one there. While I've got you here, Joe. While we've got you here, I want to talk about this golf thing. First of all, you and I spent a number of hours on the golf course playing together and enjoying each other's company and all that, which I'm hoping we can do again now that we're both in retirement.
Right.
And not squeezing it in like I got to be on the air. What time are you on the air? What time are you leaving? What time? 9:30 p.m. We're going to.
I got to leave by 9:30.
Yeah. We don't have to worry about that anymore. So we've got the RBC Canadian Open coming up next week, right? And this week, Dustin Johnson, who is Mr. RBC and, from the Gretzky royal family and supposedly beloved in Canada, and a guy who a few months ago said he's committed to RBC and of course, the PGA Tour, turns around, takes the money in the Saudi Golf Tour. Give me your perspective. What do you think about this move, and what does it damage the Canadian Open at all? Because Dustin Johnson is like one of their, key guys, the RBC Canadian Open.
Well, you know what? I mean, you'd like to think that Dustin Johnson is a man of principle, and he would never do that. That look at the Saudis, what they represent, and Khashoggi, and all, go on and on and on. I mean, who would do that? That's a horrible thing to be involved with the Saudis and what they represent. But they're waving a check for $100 million in front of your face, and you go, "Holy shit!"
Yeah.
How do you turn that down, right? So it's like I would, like I said, I'd like to think that DJ's a man of principle, and he put that ahead of things. And who really needs that kind of money anyway? And what difference does it make? And why don't you stick to your principles and do the right thing here? But put in that situation, it would be hard to say no. So I mean, it's really until you walk in another man's shoes, as they say,
Yeah.
And who knows? Maybe down the road, this will be a thing that maybe he's going to start something, and it'll be something moving over. And maybe the Saudis will change their ways, and maybe women will be able to have rights in Saudi Arabia, and yada, yada, yada. Who knows what will happen as a result of the great things they're doing. But chances are no. Chances are no. So
I think nowadays with NIL, that's name, image, likeness, and what's happening with that, where people are getting guarantees. They're all before they've ever thought of turning pro, quote unquote, while they're still in college. These great college golfers, many of them are being lured with instant money. And the other thing is, you don't have to make the cut and grind out 72 holes. It could be 54 holes. You've got a guaranteed appearance fee. Your expenses are paid for by this Saudi tour. On the PGA Tour, the guys got to pay their own expenses, right? If you really wanted a great field and you said, look, we want to have a fantastic field, we'll pay you, and and even your families, if you want, be a part of this. And so you got to start somewhere. All I know is I remember when the WHA started and Harold Ballard saying, I'm not going to pay that kind of money to Jim Harrison. I'm not going to pay Dave Keon that kind of money. I'm not going to pay, and so on and so on. And, these guys made some pretty good dough going to the WHA. And then some of them came back when the WHA folded or was absorbed by the NHL. And who's to say that 10 years from now, the PGA Tour doesn't say, you know what, Dustin, you can come back, or, that was a great tour that we had there, but we ended up buying them out, or they bought us out, or something else happened in corporate America whereby, you didn't have the same restrictions in allowing players to play. Because that's the other thing, you have to be eligible. And in order to be eligible, with the exception of the 4 majors in golf, look what they did with Wimbledon. Wimbledon arbitrarily said these points don't count because of what's going on in, politically in the world with Russia, for example. And so, I mean, that's just nonsense to me.
Yeah. Well, it's like, politics are always going to be involved in sport, whether we like it or not. Always has been, always will be. And so there's, that's just the way it is. And, but people forgive and forget over time. Right. And if DJ decides to come back to the PGA Tour, I'm sure they'll welcome him with open arms as long as he can still play golf.
You think so?
Oh, yeah, I think so.
Wow. So they've basically said, listen, buddy, as soon as he tees it up, as soon as he hits that tee shot in the Saudi tournament, he's going to be persona non grata. The PGA immediately is going to say, all right, he's suspended or whatever it is. They have to.
For now.
Well,
but over time, time is a great healer, right? I mean,
let's see.
Although Pete Rose is wondering when his time is going to come, or Barry Bonds, or but but time is a great healer, and eventually that will happen. So, yeah.
Speaking of that, before we go, Gabe Kapler, the manager of the San Francisco Giants, says in light of what's happened with the shootings, the mass shootings in the United States lately, he will not come out for the national anthems because he doesn't like the way America is. What's your opinion of that?
Good for him. I mean, good for him. I mean, I know Steve Kerr had a lot to say, right? Mm-hmm. And Gabe Kapler is making a statement, and I wish more people would. But it's a scary place. I mean, I'm Canadian. I got no desire to go to the States in the next law. I'm telling you right now, it's a scary place for me. I mean, can you imagine? Like, you could go to a grocery store anywhere in the States, and some guy with an AR-15 could walk into that grocery store and just start shooting, and the likelihood is growing all the time. Like, this just doesn't make any sense. How can this make sense? is this 1850 where everybody has to be packing a gun? Like, what's going on? And it's just that whole culture. It's insane. It's insane how a small group can run a country because the politicians are in bed with them. And it's like, it's a sad state. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, I think social change has to come from the influencers. And in today's world, the influencers are the ones that have the most followers, the professional athletes, those involved in sports and entertainment, more so than in politics. And in this particular case here, Gabe Kapler is raising awareness. You do what you can do. Mm-hmm. And he's essentially saying that national anthem the Star Spangled Banner is meaningless to me right now. It has no meaning and is not deserving of my paying attention to it. Very interesting.
Well, yeah. And, it's like, when you've got guys who are like influencers going to the NRA freaking meetings and speaking and shit like that. I mean, that's insane. That's insane. I mean, that whole piece is it just boggles the mind. I don't understand how you can put that gun money ahead of people's lives and children and what is happening? What is freaking happening? So anyway, I got no desire to go to the States. And when that clown who was the president before us talked about shithole countries, well, he's making one. He's created one, in my mind.
Yeah. And it's happening far too frequently.
Yeah.
Okay. Listen, Joe, stick around here. I'm going to say goodbye to everybody here. That's Joe Tilley, the Great Canadian Sports Show with Joe Tilley, which airs how many times a week?
Just once a week, occasionally twice. Twice.
You're getting into Toronto Mike territory then.
Yeah.
Catching up to me.
Mike's well over 1,000 episodes. I'll never catch up to Mike.
1,060, and we need a return of Joe Tilley, that's for sure. Hey, quick on the anthem protest, really quick reminder that our very own all-star, wonderful Blue Jay Carlos Delgado, he protested the national anthem, the American national anthem, for years because of their treatment of Puerto Ricans in Puerto Rico. And I always thought that was a very peaceful, thoughtful protest, and I applaud it.
Colin Kaepernick.
Yep.
Oh, Colin Kaepernick.
Gold standard, yes.
For sure. I mean, the guys at the 68 Olympics, I mean, Ali, I mean, anybody. And Ali started it. That's one of the show we had this week. We had a conversation with Lou Eisen, the boxing historian, and Mitch Chuvalo, who was there, and when Ali fought Chuvalo in '66, and like a lot of cool things happened as a result of Ali coming up here. He was empowered. Ali was empowered because he got the kind of support he wasn't getting back home. The way he's treated here versus back home.
Huge. And he got huge support up here. Absolutely.
Yeah. And that changed everything because now people looked at the support that he had, right? They looked at the support that he was getting and it empowered the folks back home in the States. Right, if Ali doesn't come up here because he wasn't allowed to fight. He wasn't allowed to fight, right? They turned him down in Chicago. They turned him down in Montreal. The Americans said, if you allow this fight to take place in Montreal, we're not coming to Expo.
That's right.
And so they came to Toronto and they said, there's one thing that Harold Ballard did that was really cool is that Harold Ballard said they started suggesting sanctions, whatever. Harold Ballard said, I don't give a shit. Put the fight on Maple Leaf Gardens.
That was one of the few things. Yeah. And one thing about Ballard is he's definitely stood up for democracy.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely stood up for democracy. All right, Joe, that's awesome. Mike, roll us out of here. That's it for episode 287 of Hebsy on Sports. Thanks to Toronto Mike for production and inspiration. Hit him up at Toronto Mike. And thanks to our special guest, Joe Tilley, for joining us. He's at Joe Swiss Tilley. Is that it on Twitter?
Yep. At Joe Swiss Tilley. Yep.
At Joe Swiss
Twitter,
Tilley.
Instagram, whatever. Yeah.
And Instagram and all that stuff. And the Great Canadian Sports Show with Joe Tilley every week with great guests like this. You got to check out the one this week with Mitch Chuvalo and about Ali. It's absolutely terrific. Thanks to our terrific sponsor, Crosswinds Golf and Country Club in Burlington. Joe, we're going to get you out there. We're going to do a little reciprocal. I can't wait to play golf with you again. I got to show you the new hybrid I got going.
Okay, so
we'll get out to Crosswinds for sure. And I'm up in your neck of the woods every so often too. So we'll do that. Go to crosswindsgolf.com, book your tee time online, save $40 per foursome. And thanks to you, the listener, for allowing us into your headspace. We're back with another exciting episode next week. I can't tell you who the guest is because he can't confirm just yet. It depends on the schedule, the playoff schedule. So I'd love to tell you, but it's not confirmed. It depends what the networks want to do with them. And anyway, that's next week. Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Mike. And thanks for listening.
Thanks, Hebsy. Thanks,
So long
guys.
for now.